Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell and Tom Cruise joins us on the show to talk football. Although, to be perfectly honest with you, the reason you're wearing them is you've had one heck of a session over the weekend. You took Friday off, which is against club rules, and then you just went on the lash.
I did. I was back over to my old football team, Derry City. I went over there. I was invited over by the manager, who's now my ex-teammate, who's now the manager. Unfortunately, I joined Derry City in 2009, which was the worst season in the club's history, where they went bust with financial irregularities. But it didn't sour my love of the city and the people. So I had a great weekend, but I'm toiling today. I'm dying today.
Yeah, well, it's good that you've done that. We can't narrow it down to when you're toiling. What about just before we get on to our first point, which is a really good point, Tom, did you get a nice reception when you went on to the park?
I did. It was great. Supporters still remember me. I don't know if it's fondly, but no, listen, I love it. It's a great city, great people. So it was great to be back at the 1-2-0 as well. So everyone was happy after the game as well. But I think it would be my last trip for a while.
Yep, absolutely. Now
Ruffy says my wife's not happy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's such a good line from you, Ruffy. I just wish you'd saved it for the show. Anyway, apart from anything else, just before we get into what we're going to be talking about, we do like to read from time to time some emails and, of course, messages we get, not only on the live feed, but, of course, when they're sent in to us. And this one is an absolute belter, to be honest with you. It just basically says, "Afternoon, Peter. My gran loves the show and wants to know if Ruffy remembers the night of the 2-2 draw against Albion Rovers in the second round of the Scottish Cup, August 29th, 1979. Apparently, she remembers everything," says Jack Power.
I'm just happy it's a football story I've got to remember here.
Yeah, 2-2. Apparently, Jack says his granny remembers everything. Do you remember everything?
I can't remember that at all. No,
yeah, well, you haven't seen Jack in a long while, but just keep the payments going. Anyway, thanks, Jack, for that lovely email. And Ruffy can't remember last week, never mind a 2-2 draw in 1979.
If he sends a photo in his gran, I might remember.
Yeah. What, then or now?
No, it might be some kind of resemblance.
Okay, 1979, Ruffy, what age were you then? You
28.
Were 28, and you'd already been to your first World Cup.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, lots to talk about. King is back in the building as John Bennett steps down at Rangers. We'll talk about that. 10 in a row for the Dons. Celtic are in good shape for the Champions League. And tributes flood in for Gary Shaw, the Aston Villa legend, who sadly passed away at the young age of only 63. We'll talk about Gary a little later on the programme with Ruffy. Maybe a little bit too early for you two characters. But nevertheless, from everyone on the football show, and I think I speak for everyone on the football show and everyone connected with football, best wishes for a speedy recovery to the Rangers chairman John Bennett. John's decided to step down as chairman for health reasons, and we certainly hope he gets back to full fitness very soon. And with that in mind, John Gilligan comes in as temporary chairman, which opens up a whole load of gigs for us, Ruffy, now that John's back at Rangers. Suddenly we're back out there with more gigs, Ruffy. That's great news.
It's brilliant. You know, he'll have to devote more of his time, obviously, to Rangers as it is.
First and foremost, I think a real concern, though, Ruffy. The one thing about the Rangers chairman's job, and like any chairman and chief executive, it is all-consuming. And especially if you are in a situation where the expectations, the demands, the pressures are there 24/7. I mean, Douglas Park, he runs a successful business, car showrooms, buses, many other things that he has in his empire. And even he found Rangers all-consuming 24/7.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're the one that cops everything bad in the club. There's not many times when, if the team's doing particularly well, the supporters go, "We've got a great chairman." You only hear about it when it's not going well. That's when he seems to get it. So, no, you're right. And the size of Rangers Football Club, you're right. It'll be more than a 9-to-5 job, and obviously, unfortunately, with some of the things that have been happening with Rangers this year, he's been taking quite a lot of personal stuff as well. I don't know if that had anything to do with his illness, but it is, as you say, all-consuming, and you have to be top very, very healthy to do that job.
Yeah, and Philippe Clement, the Rangers manager, after the win over Dundee United, had this to say on John Bennett stepping down.
I heard John as probably one of the first about that during the week. He explained me everything. It's not his decision, it's a doctor's decision. So it's with a lot of pain in the heart that they had to make the decision. And I wish him all the best to recover as fast as possible. I think until now I've been the only one talking outside, so that doesn't change too much. Maybe it changes now next week, we will see.
Yeah, obviously, I think with John stepping down, John Gilligan is more than able. He knows the club inside out, Alison, but they'll be looking for some kind of quick appointment on the basis that, you know, you're already in a situation where you're looking for a new chief executive as well here. A lot of Rangers fans want to see that there is a direct plan from the board to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's a very daunting prospect taking the job on a full-time basis, given the magnitude of what needs done and the stability that the club is crying out for. I don't think it's an easy proposition at all.
Yeah, this is what Dave King had to say. Of course, Dave King's still one of the main shareholders. He says, I don't think John expected to find the extent to which the club had been hollowed out. I think I might be the best person to take the club for the next 2 years. I'll come in, stabilise it, get the right people in place, get the club working properly, at least give it a direction, give it a plan. The one thing that I think, you know, Rangers don't need is some kind of power struggle going on, Tam, with this one. Quickly get somebody as the figurehead, quickly start to get the key people in place to take them forward, and if they can find that investment, all well and good.
Yeah, and I think also Dave has come in before and put his money in. I think like a lot of other people that put their money in, they got it back out in terms of loans and stuff like that. You know, that had to be paid back when Rangers, you know, had that great run in Europe. You know, they made a lot of money and a lot of the guys took their monay back. But I think with Dave, I don't think it's really putting money in. I think it's spending it wisely. I think that Rangers have, over the last 2 seasons, have spent money. They've wasted it, Peter, on substandard signings, and they've ended up, half of them are not even at the club anymore. So I think it's, yeah, you want Dave back in and you want money in the club, but I think it's actually getting people in place in terms of recruitment that can go and sign players that are going to be value for money, and I don't think Rangers have had value for money over the last couple of seasons.
Well, I think it's somewhat different from that from some of the more learned Rangers fans, Ruffy. I'm not too sure they want to look back the way with Dave King. I think what they're looking for is, first of all, off the back of what John Bennett said prior to the Celtic Rangers game, if he's now stepping down, you want a figurehead there, a leader to come in and move them forward with a clear plan for the next 3 to 5 years. Now, if that is a similar strategy to what John Bennett suggested, then all well and good. But you need a clear plan, you need a leader in there that's a one voice, and you also then need a strategy that says, this is how we're going to go about bringing in that money. And I think that's what a lot of people will be looking for, as well as chief executive announced.
Yeah, I think Dave King said all the right things. You know, that he knows people out there that will invest. You know, he knows the way the club's run and that carry on. But I think there's more arms and legs going to grow out of this, because I don't think, somebody might tell me wrong, I don't think he left and 100% of people go, no, well, I hope you don't go. You know, there are people in there associated with Rangers didn't like the way he was operating, didn't like the way he left. And that's at the top of my head. I'm thinking him trying to sell his shares to some of the Rangers supporters. That never went down particularly well. You know, I know Douglas Park didn't like anything that he was doing. So I think there's a lot of things behind the scene to make this cut and dried. You know, I think as the days go on, we'll hear who does want him in and who doesn't want him in. And you don't want somebody coming in to stabilise the ship when all that's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll wait and see how that develops. We will come back to, excuse me, Rangers a little later on in the programme as well, after their win up at Tannadice, and get the thoughts of everyone. Just before we look at the SPFL results, let's first of all pay tribute to Gary Shaw, because again, you know, from our own point of view, Ruffy will remember the great sides that win major tournaments. And Aston Villa in 1982 were the winners of the European Cup. They also won the European Super Cup. They had a fabulous side. Gary Shaw was at the heart of it, along with the likes of Peter With and Tony Morley. He won the Professional Footballers Young Player of the Year and European Young Player of the Year in 1982. 79 goals, 213 appearances. He only got about 7 under-21 caps. I think injury as well blighted his career. But, you know, down Villa way, just absolutely revered, legendary.
Oh, most definitely. You know, there's a lot of players go to clubs and disappear for a wee while, and you don't know what kind of reception you're going to get when you come back. But you're right in what you're saying. Down in Villa, he was legendary. You know, he was just a striker who was the mainstay of their team, scored wonderful goals, all with that blonde hair. You know, there weren't many players going about with right blonde hair. He was very identifiable. No, I met him in Mauritius a couple of times. Nice guy, you know, very... Just want to talk about football and have a good time, you know, with a lot of memories, like you said there with Aston Villa.
Similar times to what
Yes.
Sam had in Derry.
Yeah.
Mauritius, Derry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Bit warmer.
Not really much choice, Ali. I agree with you. Brilliant. Just one little thing that I thought I'd mention, which gives you an indication of the changing times. Villa, and our reporter Patrick and I were having an argument about it, but I was merely pointing out that Aston Villa used 14 players over the course of their season, not only to win the league, but the next year to go on and win the league and the European Cup and the Super Cup. You know, they only played maybe a couple of games less than Man City, but they only used 14 players.
I think it's extraordinary now when you think on that 14 players. I wouldn't even get you through. That would be considered not a full squad for a standard league game, never mind through an entirety of 2 campaigns, and not only 2 campaigns, but 2 of the most successful campaigns in their history.
It's remarkable, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, I can't believe it. I'm just reading it there. 1981, 1982. I mean, they used 14 players, Peter. Get no injuries, and you seen some of the tackles that went back in the 80s.
On the
They were
pitches.
just the pitches. It's incredible, and it just shows you probably how pampered the current modern players are when you can't play 2 games a week and 3 games a week and moaning a bit tired. But back then, there were 14 guys were trusted to play a full season.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's brilliant, isn't it, Ruffy? You know well about it because you were part of that era.
Yeah, it was. Some of the pitches were just ridiculous, you know, they were, particularly the goalmouths. The goalmouths never had any grass in them by, I would say, November. You know, they were just sand, you know, and the rest of the pitch wasn't that much better. Every time I think about the pitches away back then, I think of Tannadice, which was sand. It was just sand for the half of the season, you know, and I don't ever hear any player complaining about it. I mean, people just got on with it. Obviously, it's moved on now. The pitches are absolutely magnificent to play on, and you just wonder, you know, the players that played away back then, would have been that much better now with the surface and everything and the way they're looked after. So, you know, people just got on. I mean, you could go back even further and watch games that teams were just playing in the mud. You know, just running about in the mud, you know, no grass at all. But, no, well done to them. And Alan Evans was in that team as well, wasn't he?
And a former Hibs player as well.
Des Bremner.
Great shout, Ruffy. Des Bremner was in that side. Peter With, I always remember, is one of those players that if you've got remember 2 strikers, Tam? Peter With, Gary Shaw off him, and that's the nature of it, Ruffy. That team, Jimmy Rimmer, Kenny Swain, Ken McNaught, another Scot, Alan Evans, Gary Williams, Dennis Mortimer, Gordon Cowans, who was a wonderful player, Des Bremner, Peter With, Gary Shaw, and Tony Morley. What a team.
Brilliant team.
And they beat Bayern Munich in the final.
Yeah, and there was a couple of them went on to play for England as well.
Yeah.
Tony Morley had a good...
It's a really tricky winger. Really good player. Anyway, our thoughts and prayers go to all of Gary Shaw's family and friends at this sad time. The SPFL, the Scottish Premiership, here's the results from the weekend, and we were out at a few of those games. Aberdeen 2, Motherwell 1, 10 in a row. I'll give you my insight into my journey up to the Granite City. Celtic 2, Hearts 0, Hibs 2, St Johnstone 0, Ross County 2, Dundee 0. Did you see that coming? St Mirren 2, Kilmarnock 2, and Dundee United 0, Rangers 1. So, 2-0 for Celtic against Hearts. And I love the fact that when Engels was taking the penalty, Lawrence Shankland's giving him pelters, trying to put him off.
That's what happens, Peter. It just so happens that the camera caught him doing it, but that's happened forever, as far as I'm concerned. I remember Chris Sutton doing it to one of your players at Easter Road.
What did he shout?
I think it was Grant Brebner who was taking a penalty. I can't remember. I can't even repeat it. But he was screaming and shouting at him, and he put it in the back of the net. But that's what happens. It just happens. It was caught on camera. But Engels was so cool. Rolled into the corner. A real crucial goal for Celtic. They huffed and puffed first half. Second half, I thought they were much better. But I don't think Celtic were brilliant, but 2-0. I think they're another clean sheet, which is I think 5 or 6, which is close to the record, or is it the record at the minute for Schmeichel?
He equalled it 1906, 1907.
So I mean, Celtic have started the season in Perry's form, and as I said, they're just going from strength to strength. You've seen the strength of Celtic's bench, bringing players on. You know, they're going to be incredibly tough to topple this season in the league.
Yeah, the one thing I would say though, Alison, is if you are going to go to Celtic Park, Hearts know what it's like to actually go there and win. But there are moments when you have to take your chances, and Moussa Dremi missed a huge opportunity. Should have burst the net.
Absolutely, and I think that's a real turning point within the game, because you know that I think there was a feeling that Celtic could open it up a bit, go through the gears, but I think you bring it back with that moment, and you don't know what happens, and the crowd start to get a bit frustrated. So yeah, I think just if you're going to take anything, you've got to take your chances.
And if there's a goalkeeper that looks as if he's maybe should have saved something, Ruffy, we've always got to get your expertise on it. Luke McCowan won't be caring. He just steadied himself, looked for the angle, and found the bottom corner. But should Craig Gordon have done better?
I don't think you have to ask me that. You just have to look at Craig Gordon's face when it went in the back of the net. I think he tried to do what the Scotland goalkeeper tried to do a couple of weeks ago, trying to push it around the post and never get enough of a hand on it, and unfortunately it could have hit the post, it could have come back out, but unfortunately for him it hit the side of the post, went in the back of the net. But no, I think Craig will know himself he could have done better there.
You know what I'm like, Ruffy, and I'm slightly biased because we've been together for such a long time. So if we were out in the town and somebody picked a fight, I'd jump to your rescue. I'd be in there, you know, because you're a long-time friend. You know, is that fair?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
So Celt88 says, Ruffy would have been a stripper if he was born in this era. Never on the level of today's goalkeepers. So
Everybody's got an opinion.
Well,
Chippendales.
I was going to say, and then Celt88 hasn't obviously written his name because he's obviously scared. But I might as well tell you, Celt88, Ruffy would have been worth millions in today's market. For Ruffy to play for Partick Thistle at a time when managers strangled you with their clubs, not allowing you to move anywhere, he was absolutely top drawer. You don't get picked by top managers to go to World Cups if you're not a great goalkeeper. 3 World Cups.
I think I'm the only Scottish goalkeeper that's been to 3 World Cups.
Yeah. To be fair, what does Celt88 know about goalkeepers? He was
Who's your stripper name be? Tragic Mike.
What is it you do? What is it you do? Do you know,
Maybe your
first
pet in your mother's
first
maiden
pet
name.
was, my dog was called Rex.
Well, that's quite good. I like this, Ruffy.
My mum's maiden name was Little.
Rex Little. Little by name, little by nature.
Yeah.
In the back here. Back.
Yeah, so there you are. Rex Little, the stripper, is Ruffy. But Celt88, you're bang out of order. He would have been worth millions in today's game. Believe me, he was a top drawer goalkeeper.
Random career change.
Absolutely, I know. Well, I can't believe he even thought about it. Okay, how much of a blow? How much will it play and prey on his mind? Tam Lon Shanklin still not scoring.
Yeah, I think it will.
That's good. Right away, Tom.
As someone who's went on long droughts himself, I've said this before, but you've went 4 or 5, in my case, months without a goal. The goal did shrink to the size of a matchbox. I was still surprised that he took him off at 1-0. I was, I think you leave Shanklin on. You know, if you're looking for a goal, I think you leave him on, but he took him off after 1-0, which I thought was strange. But yeah, he started the season poorly. I think it's all down to the levels he's set. Peter, the last 2 seasons he's scored 50, 60 goals for Hearts, and he's been their talisman. He's the guy they look to when they're struggling, and if he's not scoring at the minute, nobody's scoring for Hearts. So listen, I don't think it'll affect Stephen Naismith's job or the pressure he's under. I think going there, and I actually thought he'd done okay, and losing 2-0 was fine, but I think the next few games coming up are going to be crucial for him. He's now rooted at the bottom of the league. Hibs obviously won at the weekend as well, so, and Aberdeen now I think 14 points clear of Hearts. So, I mean, they need to start winning games and quickly.
Yeah, as far as Luke McCowan's concerned, what What a great day for him.
Absolutely, he'll just be delighted. I think it takes a wee bit of pressure off immediately going in, getting your goal, a positive start. He'll be delighted to have made a contribution, and I think he'll just be keen now to build on it. The fact is, between now and January, Celtic's schedule will be hectic when you factor in the 8 Champions League games. You'll have the League Cup games too. He'll need to use the squad at certain points across the domestic campaign. So I think for a boy like Luke McCowan, you'll be thinking, I'll have opportunities to go in and make my mark. When I get them, I really have to take them.
Yeah, and of course, with the game against Slovan Bratislava coming up, Champions League for them, this is what Brendan Rodgers had to say. I think we've got a good balance in the squad. We've got areas, of course, that I would want to improve later on. But we've done a hell of a lot of work, and real good work, I believe, over the course of the summer. We're ready to attack the competition. We know the level that we're playing at, but it's okay. We will go and we will give it everything. That's what Brendan Rodgers has mentioned, because it is a big week for them, Ruffy.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think Hearts at the weekend there was the first time defensively that Celtic have maybe tested a wee bit. You know, I think Hearts had a couple of openings, you know, that put them under a wee bit of pressure, you know, so they'll have to defensively tighten up, yeah, because the opposition will be better. It's Champions League. But we're all waiting to see, and I think the supporters are all waiting to see, you know, if that improvement is there. OK, we're
going to be talking Rangers and Hibs in a moment, but let me firstly address the team in joint top position with Celtic, and that is, of course, Aberdeen. 2-1 win over Motherwell. And I have to say, Tam, what a journey, what a day. It was incredible. It was just brilliant being up there. Full marks to Dave Cormack, the backroom staff, everybody who organised it. Motherwell walk out onto the park. There's flamethrowers going up into the air. There's, you know, the smoke, the flares. And then, of course, you know, you've got everybody, as Ruffy had mentioned. Ruffy had mentioned there were some flags. Everybody had a flag. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable. You'd have thought it was a Champions League game when they walked out onto the park. What a show they put on for that. And then, you know, there's nothing better than a team who decides to spend an hour allowing you to come out from the back without any pressure.
Yeah, I've seen the highlights, Peter. First and foremost, a wonderful start of the season from Aberdeen. I think Dave Cormack comes from an American background, and having played in America myself, and Ruffy, that is as razzmatazz as you get before every sporting event, whether it's football, whether it's American football, baseball, anything you want. It's an entertainment. You want to go and have a day out, and people want to enjoy it, so they put a show on. But you've got to get results in the back of that. Aberdeen are getting results. I thought Pape Habib Guèye, I thought his 2 goals were right. His first goal, was it the second goal? The one he ran for the halfway line and put it past the goalkeeper. Great goal. He started to score goals as well. And they're winning games. As we said, they've got harder games coming up, but all you can do is beat the teams in front of you. They're doing that at the minute. As I said, they're well ahead of Hearts, who are probably big favourites to finish third again this season. I think they're 14 points ahead of them, which at this stage of the season is an enormous gap. And just everything seems to be positive up there after the game. They're going and serenading the fans, which again I think is maybe a Scandinavian thing coming from the manager. And
for 10 minutes.
For 10 minutes, you know, saying thank you to the supporters. So
I was wearing them handing over the 10-minute cup and the 10 wins in a row, which is no mean feat by them.
No, it isn't, Peter. And as I said, everything's positive up there. The manager can do no wrong. He's a hero at the minute with Aberdeen supporters. So I said, if you're an Aberdeen fan, it's a wonderful time to be an Aberdeen fan, considering the last 2 seasons they have been atrocious. I think they deserve a wee bit of credit for going a great run.
Yeah, absolutely. 10 wins out of 10 is nothing to be sniffed at. And I have to say, Ruffy, the one element of it, apart from I thought Motherwell stood off them for an hour and then suddenly made changes and it became a little bit harum-scarum for them. They almost snatched a draw, Motherwell. But the one thing I noticed about them is, and this is something that, you know, in October that we've already talked about, Nielsen he's the man. He's at the front of the back 4, Ruffy. He takes it off them at every opportunity. He then puts it to the midfield. If he's in the midfield, he pushes forward to link the attack. He is the linchpin. Shinnie was out, but if Shinnie's in there with McGrath, they've got licence to roam a wee bit further forward. If they're defending, he's telling everybody what to do. He's almost like Jimmy Talline's, you know, leader on the pitch. He just absolutely directs everything. So the only time it became a different game is Aberdeen were able to get out and Pape Guèye looks a different player, but the only time it changed is when they were pressed. And then they didn't look as comfortable as you would have thought.
Yeah, well, the player you're talking about, that's the reason he was being brought in. You know, the manager's obviously seen what he did with his club before, you know, and I think he's taken a wee bit of the pressure off Shinnie. We were all looking for Shinnie to do everything in that midfield, but he's now demanding, you know, and he looks like, as you said, the leader on the park, and every club needs that kind of guy because there's a lot of inexperienced players in the team, so he seems to be holding it together. And it was only the last 5 minutes when Motherwell threw the kitchen sink at it, you know, and that's always going to happen when you know you've got to get something out of the game. And they might have got something out of the game. The goalkeeper did a good save, but no, everything's buzzing up there just now.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what Pape Guèye had to say about the win.
Yeah, so all the time I try to like make the fans happy. So when I score goal, to dance. So yeah, for sure. I have a lot of dance on my mind. So and also at home I dance a lot. So when I score, I like to dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing,
Papa.
Ruffy, yeah, I'll tell you right now, Ruffy, he absolutely skinned 3 Motherwell players on the halfway line, and then he whipped the ball into the net. He was calm, and then he went through, Ali, you know, something that obviously we love to see in the game. He started going through this dance, which obviously reminded me of you and the Henry Africas in the late 80s.
I'm too young for Henry Africa. That's before my time.
The thing about it was, he said, I've got more dances to come, and I thought, roll on. If you can keep dancing in Aberdeen fans, you'll be an absolute legend.
If he scores goals like that second one, he will be. But I think it's just indicative of the confidence and belief that's around the club just now, just on the back of how they've started, and we can look at it from where we are and saying that there are tougher games ahead, and you might have a better idea of just how good this Aberdeen team are. But I don't think you can underestimate just what it does for a team to have that confidence immediately, to have that sense of assurance going into games, and also points banked. It gives you a real safety net. When you look at the start of the season, we would all have anticipated that Hearts and Aberdeen might have been going neck and neck for third. When you look at it and you look at the gap between the two of them, it gives Aberdeen a fantastic starting position, really, to lay foundations for a very positive campaign.
Yeah, I think it's got the makings of a really good season, especially at home, where I think they'll be able to make it a fortress. 17,150, I think, roughly, for that game, which was magnificent. On the flip side, for Motherwell, they played some nice stuff. Tony Watt missed an absolute sitter where he really could have.
I didn't think that was a sitter.
If it goes left or right, Ruffy, it's
yeah,
in the
but
net.
he's flung his head in, and the defenders flung his head in as well. So.
Yeah.
He's not really getting a clear shot at it. No, it would have been a good goal. He was brave going in there. Could have been a clash of heads.
What did you make of Stuart Kettlewell saying, you know, the 15 seconds that we were denied at the end? The referee added a minute on, and at 45 seconds he blew the whistle. And Motherwell had the ball and were about to launch it.
And yeah, I mean, we've seen goals getting scored in the last seconds of a game, you know, and as a manager, when you're getting all the chances in the last 5-10 minutes, you do believe that can happen, and you hang on to that. But obviously, it didn't happen. But I mean, it's a bit nippy to pick on, you know,
Yeah.
for the whole game.
Yeah.
You could have picked on other things probably.
Well, I must admit, he surprised me when he did say it, but nevertheless, it is a point. You know what managers are like, Ali. They'll pull up anything that might give them justification for the defeat in the end. But fair play to Aberdeen. I thoroughly enjoyed the day. The Dons fans were magnificent. A few of them, you know, just waving to me and letting me know that the Dons were there and they're going to be a force. And then, of course, they finished off with the classic that I was hoping that they would sing while I was up there, which was "FU Celtic, we're going to win the league." It's just a chorus. There's no verses to it, Tam. It's just straight to the point.
Yeah, I think they were singing that up at Ross County as well a couple of weeks ago. Listen, as I said, fair play to Aberdeen supporters. They've had no much to shout about in the last couple of seasons. They've been through a succession of managers who've failed, and they seem to have got a manager in now who's doing the business for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boy phoned me the other day and says, could you ask Tam if he knows that Aberdeen manager?
Jimmy Tillin.
Because he's going to get sacked sometime if Tam does him.
Yeah, that's exactly.
No one of my mates who's got a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I don't think Tam knows anybody in Norway unless he's going there on his next holiday. Who takes holidays in the middle of the season, Ali? I ask you. Dundee United 0, Rangers 1, because obviously the real pressure was Aberdeen had won. Celtic had won. Rangers 24 hours later, kicking off at Tannadice, which I think many of us thought was always going to be a tricky one. I don't think too many. I think we all tipped. You weren't here on Friday, but we all tipped Rangers just to edge it, and in the end they did.
Yeah, I think so. I think they started the game very positively. I thought from the opening exchanges and the earliest goal that you're thinking that they would go on and dominate the game. I think it got a bit ragged. It got away from them a wee bit. I think by the end they're just relieved to get over the line, bank the points. It might not be the prettiest, but I think where they are now, having fallen 5 points behind Celtic already, I think every game now you just can't afford to drop any points. It's by hook or by crook. Get the win and just get back down the road.
Yeah. What did you make of them, Ruffy?
I thought they won quite comfortably. I know 1-0's not a massive result, but I think 1-0, a comfortable 1-0. You know, I think they controlled the game. Dundee United just couldn't get near enough. They had a couple of deflections that went by the post, but can't remember Rangers goalkeeper making any saves. So, you know, I think the 1-0, you'd be happy just to get out of there, because at 1-0 anything can happen, a own goal or a fluky corner or something like that. So, no, I think they needed to win it, and they have won it, and they'll go away, and then obviously they've got all the home games coming up now at Ibrox, so everybody will buy into, right, we're on a run now, but as Alison says, they've got to prove that on the park.
Yeah. Barami, Sterling, Igamani and Raskin all coming on as well. I think this period, you know, as you'd mentioned before, is all about trying now to find that maybe 9 or 10 that are going to regularly play for him.
Yeah, I agree with Ruffy. I thought it was quite comfortable. I thought Dundee United were really poor in the final third. I watched the game. They got into great situations, Dundee United. Particularly second half, Dundee United were the better team. I thought they Rangers under pressure. Rangers could have scored on the counter, I think, through Lawrence, when Igmani put them through, but they'd never done equality in the final third, Peter. They rushed everything, Dundee United. They had no composure in the final third. If they had a wee bit of quality in the final third, then they might have got a point out of the game, but I agree, Rangers just need to keep winning games. I thought Igmani, when he came on, I thought he looked good. I think I quite like to look at him. If you're a Rangers supporter, you're looking at Igmani just coming on, he can hold the ball up, he's strong, he likes to play. I thought Dessers was poor again, and I think he's going to find himself under his position under threat from Igmani, because come on for a little cameo against Celtic, I thought looked okay, and then I thought when he came on yesterday, I thought again he looked strong, he could hold it up, so I think he's a positive for Rangers. I thought Bajrami came on and done pretty well as well, so there's two guys that could maybe push into the Rangers starting lineup and make them stronger.
Yeah, and of course, let's not forget, Alison, now going back to Ibrox, that's something that the manager again has highlighted. It's back to Ibrox, it's back to that atmosphere, which again offers them a major boost in my mind. Hampden's just not the ideal place.
Yeah, I think going back to Ibrox is big, given the fact at one point it looked as though there was speculation that it was going to run for and into the turn of the year. I think getting back to Ibrox is critical. I think it'll be a relief to get back and end just the focus on being at Hampden, get back into Ibrox, people back into their own seats, etc., and all the rest of it. I think that helps. I think it was a factor in terms of all the unrest around the club just at the start of the season, the dropping points against Hearts on the opening day, and then the furore over what was happening and having to go to Hampden. I think now getting back is a step in the right direction, but crucially it's just about what happens on the park and in terms of what happens with performances and teams and games. I think fans want to see a level of cohesion, they want to see a bit of solidity, and they want to see a clear identity about the team and how they're playing, and then if you get that, you can then go and ask questions.
Yep, okay, we'll find out as the days develop how Rangers are going to go about looking for a permanent chairman, chief executive, and a strategy and a long-term plan that falls into line with what John Bennett was saying prior to the Old Firm game. Okay, and that's Celtic, Rangers and Aberdeen at the top end of the table. I just thought I'd mention at this point, we talked about Motherwell there, we talked about Dundee United. Just a wee footnote, is this a period where we all discussed that Hearts put on a half-decent performance at Celtic Park, didn't come away with anything in the end, Ruffy, but is this a time for maybe Stevie Naismith just to settle all the hysteria that was surrounding him and maybe try and get a run of games where they can get some wins?
Yeah, but it needs to start with the first one, you know, and I think it's St Mirren away they've got in their next game. It's going to be another toughie, you know. It just needs to get a win, you know, because the longer it goes on, and I mean the distance between them and Aberdeen just now, if they don't start winning, is going to get bigger and bigger. And the Hearts fans are just want Europe. They want to be in Europe. They'll experience going away on a trip, and they'll see where they are now, and they'll be going, oh, well, this might not happen this year, and that's when the anxiety creeps in, and then everybody turns on the manager and the players. So the only thing you can dig yourself out of it is by a win.
Yeah, you're right there, Ruffy. They've got St Mirren away, then they've got Ross County at home, Dynamo Minsk, and then, would you believe it, 6th of October, they're up at Pittodrie. These are must-win games. Maybe not Dynamo Minsk, but certainly the league games.
Yeah, I think St Mirren away is going to be tricky as well. I think they're difficult to beat at St Mirren Park. Ross County at home, you'd expect them to win that, but then they go up to Aberdeen, and as I said, Hearts were favourites to finish third this season with the bookies, so they're going to be a long way behind Aberdeen. If they got up there and Aberdeen, you know, beat them, you can just near enough give Aberdeen third place already. You know, they're that far clear. So, no, Hearts have got a lot of big games, and playing Thursday, Sunday coming up is going to test their squad to the max as well. It's going to be really difficult for Hearts this season.
Yeah, absolutely. What about the Hibees? 2-0 win. It's a great day for us, because I'd like to thank Hibs as a club for giving us access all areas. We've got a brilliant documentary coming out. We love our documentaries, Tam, as you know. And this one is the match day experience. It's just a kind of a highlight of how football is changing and how Hibs have really put a lot of effort into the commercial side of football and trying to generate more and more money from hospitality, that match day experience of coming there and enjoying it for not just the 90 minutes, but so much more. And we were able to interview so many people, not only the fans, but Ben Kensel, had a chat with Adam Tomlinson, the PR person. We even got the stadium announcer in there, Pat Stanton, Marvin Bartley, and of course the manager and player after the game. So they gave us access all areas. We got to see all the different areas that people enjoy it pre and post match.
Yeah, and that's probably been the biggest surprise for me, is how big and how good the hospitality experience is at Easter Road. They've invested heavily in the stand behind the goals and the main stand. They were just concourses, really. They've redone them all. They've now got restaurants in there, Peter. Edinburgh's an affluent area, as we know. You know, there's people going in there, and they're spending a lot of money, and that's going into the coffers of the club and to support the team. So I'm looking forward to seeing the documentary. I've heard a wee bit about it in there, and yeah, I think that, you know, Hibs deserve great credit for that, but it's on the park that they need to kind of get working as well, Peter. And a great result with the weekend. It was a game that I expected them to win. First half, by all accounts, they were pretty poor, but second half I thought they deserved to win the game, and scored a good goal through Martin Boyle. So no, I think that Hibs, as I said, they're a work in progress, Peter. They've signed a lot of players. I think they've signed 12 players this season in this window. It's going to take time for them to gel. But once I think they gel, I think they've got enough quality in that squad to at least be in the top 6 and pushing for fourth. I think Aberdeen are massive favourites right now for third with the start they've had. Yeah,
David Gray needed a win. He got it by 2-0, and he was one of those managers that has that relieved look about him.
Obviously something that internally I've seen a lot of positives that we're working on all the time. The progression in especially the last 2 games, with the point losing the goal late on at Kilmarnock probably felt a little bit more of a defeat straight after it. But I think then once the dust settles and you start to see some of the more positive stuff that's happening in the games, the way we've trained this week, it's great to finally get that 3 points and more importantly a clean sheet as well. I think that's something that we take a lot of pride in as well for how hard we've worked at it.
Welcome to your Daily News headlines, brought to you by Arnold Clark. I'm Patrick, and here's your top stories. On the 16th of September, Rangers returned to winning ways yesterday with a narrow 1-0 victory over Dundee United.
I would have taken him anyway on that point. Listen, full march to Hibernian. No surprise that Martin Boyle wants to be a bit more selfish. His dad told him to, and he decided, well, I'll go on my own and just nick it over the goalie.
Yeah, and I think at some points Hibs have really relied on Martin Boyle. I think they could do with some more goals coming out of him just now, just at this point in the season. He'll be delighted. I think Hibs just needed the win. I think we spoke about it on Friday. It's just about getting out the bit, just getting a wee bit of confidence into the team, loads of changes, a fairly turbulent start for David Gray. He'll be relieved, just take the 3 points and it gives you something to build on.
Yeah, any argument with the red card for St Johnstone, Ruffy?
No, I don't think so. I think it was dangerous. It was a lunge. There was a lot of things going on at the weekend with the games. I think Willie Collum's thing at the end of the month might have been weekly. After all the games at the weekend, there was some of the stuff that was going on. So he better have a wee notepad and he's writing down everything, because by the time the end of the month comes, he's going to have a list that size.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of things at the weekend I didn't understand.
Well, we're going to talk about Willie Collum and how he's obviously offering transparency, communication, and discussing things with managers in just a moment. You know, some people will look and say, "Oh well, the referee on Sky Sports, Dermot Gallagher, said it wasn't a red card." Well, he's not the light, the way, and the truth. I thought it was a red.
I thought it was harsh, Peter. I'll go against you here. I'll disagree. I thought it was a harsh red card, maybe a yellow. I think he's dived in. He's not caught him. I think he's just a kind of striker, just trying to block the ball up the line and
showing your studs.
I think obviously in the current guidelines and headlines, it's pretty let the law. It's maybe a red card, but for me, I thought it was harsh.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody sent us an email last week, Tam, just saying that sometimes I offer an opinion, and if some people are scared to disagree with it, you're not. You're one of those bullshit people. You stick by your guns.
No, I disagree with most things you say anyway, Peter, so does Ali, so
that's why I like you, of course, because you're two heavy drinkers, which is why you two disagree with me on a regular basis, whereas Ruffy, look at that, consummate professional.
Yes, Peter, you're right, Peter, yeah, you all agree, Peter, yeah.
Well, do you want to tell you something? Ruffy, consummate professional, not bevied, turns up in the shorts, looks the part.
Do you not have a drink this weekend, Alan?
I actually didn't. I was at the races yesterday and I refrained because I was driving.
Well done, Ruffy. Yeah. Absolutely, there you are. Consummate professional.
You'd up for it when I got home.
Brilliant, Ruffy. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, thank you very much to Hibs for giving us access to all areas. And well done to Blair and Kerry, who were out there at Easter Road. It was a long, long day, but hopefully you'll see the fruits of their labour later on in the week. And we're going to hear from Ali later on today on our YouTube channel. I'll give you details of that just shortly. We'll be talking about Ross County Dundee, and we'll also be talking about St Mirren against Kilmarnock after we get those headlines now from Patrick.
Welcome to your Daily News headlines, brought to you by Arnold Clark. I'm Patrick, and here's your top stories. On the 16th of September, Rangers returned to winning ways yesterday with a narrow 1-0 victory over Dundee United. It was Tom Lawrence who got the only goal of the game, and speaking afterwards, Robin Proper was full of praise for the Englishman.
We started really well. We played some really good football from left to right. We had some chances. I think the goal from Tom was really good to see his quality in there.
And Aberdeen continued their perfect start to the season with a 2-1 victory over Motherwell. Pape Guèye got on the score sheet with a double. And speaking after the game, he believes Aberdeen could have a special season.
I believe myself, and then we have a very strong team, and then everyone help each other. So I believe like this year we can have something special. Yeah.
And Hibs also got their first victory of the season with a 2-0 victory over St Johnstone. Martin Boyle got himself on the score sheet. Speaking after the game, he said he's had a bit of advice from someone special.
Yeah, obviously speaking with my dad and that, I think he's wanted me to be a bit more selfish, and as soon as I got played through, I kind of, I wanted to try score a goal, and yeah, obviously I only had my eyes on the goal. I never seen Miko, so yeah, thankfully it did go in.
The PLZ Soccer Football Show is live once again tonight from 4 p.m. on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. That's all of your headlines, brought to you by Arnold Clark.
Yeah, thank you to Patrick. We know we're on, Patrick, because you're in it. But St Mirren 2, Kilmarnock 2. Ali, good game?
Yeah, I thought it was. There was plenty going on, that was for sure. There was I thought St Mirren thought they'd nicked it at the death with that goal. It was chopped off for Marcus Fraser's high boot. I thought it would have been harsh on Kilmarnock. I thought they were very good. I thought they started the game really well. St Mirren had taken the lead against the run of play, and then of course Kilmarnock go down to 10 men, and you anticipated that St Mirren would take a grip of it in the second period. I thought Kilmarnock were fairly bold in their approach, even with the numerical disadvantage, and yeah, I thought well worthy of their point.
Yeah, of course, Derek McInnes reckons that they were the better team even with that man less.
Second half, we came out, 10 men, I've got decision make. Normally you get a man sent off, particularly a defender, you play like for like, you get a defender on, you need to take one of your attacking players off. I think I was rewarded for not doing that, and I think my team answered up brilliantly. My team were magnificent second half. We controlled that game. Out of possession, we let the outside centre-backs have the ball, fine. We had to defend a couple of crosses, we had to defend a couple of counter-attacks, it happens. But by and large, I think we'd...
Yeah, Derek McInnes, I think from his point of view, well happy, but not happy with Joe Wright. Fined him 2 weeks' wages, Ruffy, for violent conduct. Obviously, he's picked up a couple of red cards and he's paid the penalty.
Yeah, well, I've had a few red cards, and that'll be the thing that'll be annoying, Derek. You know, that you want to keep 11 men on the park, you know, but that one was just silly. You know, that in front of the cameras, you know, the cameras are there, you know, they're going to pick it up, and the referee picked it up as well. So, you know, you could see the frustration in Derek's voice after the game, and a couple of weeks' wages is a hard hit.
Yeah, absolutely. St Mirren, they would have, I think Stephen Robinson, knowing him as I do, he'll have been absolutely raging that they didn't take the 3 points.
Yeah, I thought he was quite flat after the game, actually. I think he admitted that he didn't feel as though they'd done enough to win it, didn't really deserve to win it. I think they've just not quite found their groove yet, following on from last season, a really successful back-to-back campaigns, getting the 2 top 6 finishes. I think this season European football obviously had an impact on them. I think just not quite as fluent as what they were towards the end, particularly at points in last season, but towards the end of last season too.
Yeah, okay, and the last game that we're going to talk about is Ross County 2, Dundee 0. I didn't see that coming, did you?
No, I didn't. Dundee been flying, Peter, scoring a lot of goals. Ross County struggling at the bottom of the league. You know, 2 heavy defeat against Rangers, and then obviously the last minute goal against Aberdeen at home. Again, I think that Ross County, St Johnstone will be the bottom 2 this season. But Ross County, that's a great result for them. Dundee, as I said, going well at the time, and fair play to them for picking up a massive 3 points, because I do think they'll be fighting out with St Johnstone at the bottom.
Yeah, Tony Docherty revealed that the SFA head of referees, Willie Collum, contacted him to discuss an incorrect decision not to award Dundee a penalty in that game. You know, I think the Dundee boss was quite happy that there is that continued communications. A lot of support for what Willie Collum's doing at the moment. Doesn't make it any better when they lose the game 2-0.
He's going to have some phone bill if he phoned everybody at the weekend, you know, after all the results, all the stuff that was going on in all the games. But, you know, I think the managers will appreciate that. I think once you see... I think you're talking about the time when the centre-forward got thing, and I thought, nah, I wouldn't have given a penalty for that. I was good that somebody came out and, you know, told us about why the penalty was given when he pulled him down, you know, because the ball's not in play, but why is he pulling his jersey? You know, so for me, that's a penalty.
Yeah, but again, I think we have to compliment Willie Collum, because, quite simply, if there are mistakes, you know, I know John Fleming used to do it as the head of the SFA's disciplinary committee back in the day in the referees. He would, the head of the referees, I beg your pardon, he would phone and try and communicate. I think what was lost over the last maybe 5 or 6 years is that ability to speak to the managers and say, look, what's your feelings? What can we do better? Willie is really, I think, pushing the boat out here.
I think he's made a very strong start to that role. I think what you're seeing is a desire for some kind of transparency, communication between teams, between managers, players. I think that's what you want, because I think often what you hear so many criticisms from players and managers after games, and then the retort from officials sometimes when you speak to them is, you know, we're only applying the laws of the game. It's not a personal decision, we're applying what we have to apply, and sometimes you have players who might not actually understand the laws of the game. I think sometimes if you have a communication there, an explanation for why a decision has been given, you might not always like it, you might not always agree with it, but I think it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, here's the Scottish Premiership table after that round of fixtures. Remember, there'll be cup games next week as well. So Celtic at the top with Aberdeen, which makes you know, great viewing for Dons fans, Ruffy, when you consider what they were witnessing last season.
Yeah, I think so, but I think we've said this all along. We need somebody to challenge Rangers and Celtic throughout the season. It's good at this moment that the two of them are split. You know, you would have thought it would maybe been Hearts or Hibs, but at this moment in time, it's Aberdeen that's up there, and good luck to them.
Bottom end, Tam, anything that will be causing a boardroom major concerns?
No, I don't think so, Peter. I think Kilmarnock have obviously come out of a tough spell playing a lot of games in Europe. I think they'll climb the table. Hearts have got too much quality to be bottom for too long. And I think it will be between Kilmarnock, St Johnstone and Ross County for that bottom spot and the playoff spot. Hibs picking up a good result there. You know, I think they're not too far off the pace now. So no, I think that the Aberdeen, Ruffy's right. You're looking for somebody to go and at least put a challenge in. Maybe get to Christmas within touching distance of the big two here, and maybe go and push to try and push for second place.
It'd be great to have 3 teams at least in that. You know, that's what we're crying out for, that, aren't we?
Absolutely. I think the more competitive the league is, the more exciting it is, the more it's better for everyone. It's more fun to watch. It's better in terms of what you're trying to sell as a product, in terms of the perception of it.
Kelly had some good supporters there.
Kelly took a really good... Yeah, I thought they took a decent support, fairly vocal too. I thought, yeah, I actually like St Mirren Stadium. I like that Smiza Stadium. When it's full, it's a good atmosphere in it. It's fairly atmospheric and noisy. But yeah, in terms of a competitive league, I think that's what you're crying out for.
I like stadiums, Ruffy, where you know the fans are angry even if it's a throw-in.
Yeah, I think you have to congratulate the fans of all the teams this year. Anytime I've seen the highlights on the television, you know, most of the stadiums have been packed. You know, there are only a couple of stadiums that are behind the goal. You know, if it's 2 of the smaller teams that aren't, but when all the big ones are playing, you know, the atmosphere's fantastic, and I think Aberdeen are leading everybody in this one.
Yeah, down south, just before we go, we always like to have a wee look at what's happening in the English Premier League as well. I don't know about you, Ali, I don't know if and I'm only at this point guessing, but I'd love to go and see the Tottenham Stadium. Everybody talks about it, certainly from a point of view of a good weekend away. It's a fabulous stadium. It's a wee bit of hospitality. It could cost us a few quid, but Ruffy, would you be able to get a get out of jail card and head down there if we wanted to go and see it?
Yeah, I think it's one of the games you need to go at least 2 nights before it to catch the atmosphere for the game on the Saturday.
Yeah,
you know, so yeah, I'd be up for that.
Yeah, and
not this year for me.
Well, I was going to say, as Mickey Flanagan once said, Ali, if you're going to think about going away for the 2 days and then the game, do you start working on it with Fred the week before and deliver the line that says, you know, I could go with a wee break here? Would you be able to get away for 2 days?
I think I've got credit in the bank.
Yeah, fantastic. I like that, Ali. Well done to you. I don't think your kids think you get credit in the bank. No point in asking you. You go to the opening of an envelope.
Not for the next 6 months after this weekend. They'll be put me down for next year.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Ruffy, all things have changed, isn't it?
Look at his contract. I don't think he had the next year.
Yeah. That's a good point. Just on that, I mentioned the Tottenham Stadium. North London derby, everybody's talking about it, thinking, oh, it's going to be fantastic. I thought Arsenal always looked as if they were going to win that when they were too strong. And again, set pieces, the undoing of Tottenham. This is Ange Postecoglou after some criticism.
Look, I know. Look, I know. For some reason, people think I don't care about set pieces, and it's a narrative that you can keep going on for ages and ages. I understand that. Like I said, we work on them all the time, like we do at every other team. You know that they're a threat. As I said, for the most part, we handled them really well today, but we switched off for one and we paid a price. And you learn from that and you move on. But it is what it is, Matt. You know, it's my burden to carry, mate, and I'm happy to do that.
There you are. Suddenly, we're in the 21st century, Ruffy, and now he's getting caned because he doesn't have a set-piece coordinator.
Yeah, well, it seems to be the way ahead now. I mean, we've got one, Austin's Scotland. He's the one who does the corners, free kicks and all that. You know, not in my day, we never had anything like that, but things have moved on.
Yeah, moved on from pick your man up.
Pick your man up, yeah.
That's the thing, though, when you look at it, for all the criticism of not having a set-piece coach and not wanting one, it is a fundamental part of the game that they fell asleep at. You can't coach that. Like you have to, surely you have to understand. It was a free header.
Just pick your man up.
It's a free header.
If you're going man for man, Peter, you're assigned a player, and when you came off, the player that came on was assigned that player as well. You see them at the side of the park with the sheets of paper.
If you're a central
it's not hard.
If you have to defend.
Yeah, you've got to.
No, absolutely. I get where you're coming from, Ali, because everybody, Austin McPhee does it and he gets great credit when there's a free kick that comes off. And then obviously, you know, in an attacking sense of something that they've orchestrated and put a bit of thought into, then all credit to them. But for God's sake, he's got a backroom team there and they will have worked on it. He is a manager. He manages this team on how to play. So the buck stops with him, but to suggest that suddenly, you know, the defensive coordinator is going to come in and wave the magic wand. If Ange surely in midweek has turned around and said, listen, you know, we've been making mistakes at set piece, pick your bloody man up.
Yep. As I said, there'll be a sign. If they're going zonal, they'll know what zone they've got to cover. So no, I don't get it. Listen, Tottenham are struggling a wee bit as a poor start of the season. Things are starting to get nitpicked in terms of what they're doing wrong. I thought Tottenham just poor in the final third, Peter, and didn't make the right decisions in the final third. Arsenal, it was like Jose Mourinho performance. I thought they defended for most of the game, went up the park, scored, then defended the 1-0. So
looked good without Odegaard and Rice.
Missing obviously two key players, but Arsenal for me this season will be the big challenges to Man City.
Okay, thanks to everyone for hitting the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. If you do indeed get a chance, then quite a lot of our content across all of our social media is well worthy of you casting your eye over. You can actually, Ruffy, this is great news for you, Ruffy, you can follow us on TikTok as well. And if you go on TikTok at PLZ Soccer, you'll see you and Tam, it's coming out today, Truth or Lie. Basically, you and Tam have had this competition where you have to come up with a little unknown fact or fib about yourself, personal life, or indeed not too much in your personal life, but certainly in the professional life as well. And Tam had to guess whether it was a truth or lie, and equally so, Tam fed a few humdingers to you.
Yeah, it was. I'd like to do it again because I think I made it too easy for them. You know, because most of them were so ridiculous that were.
Yeah, I think one of them was. I don't want to give the game away, but I took a hot air balloon and ended up in Mars. Is that true or false?
Yeah, it was one
I don't think he quite grasped it that he had to get me not to get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really funny, actually, I have to say. It's on TikTok, Tam and Ruffy, Truth or Lie. So if you get a chance, get on there. If you download the app, you'll get all the breaking news stories at your fingertips and, of course, the unique video content. And that brings me nicely to the content that we are delivering for you, because as well as that mini documentary on Hibs and that match day experience that lots of clubs across Scottish football are offering to fans nowadays, we do like to give you one-to-ones as well. And McConnell meets the latest in the instalment, Ruffy. Alison just walking casually out of the tunnel, delivering a great interview with Mark O'Hara.
Yes, it was very, again, I'd like to thank St Mirren, very accommodating as always, and Mark O'Hara too, he was fantastic company.
Yeah, good player. Things going well for him there. Took his penalty well at the weekend. Nice to get a wee insight into the players as well. And PLZ Soccer is offering that on a regular basis, Tam.
Yeah, yep. Obviously, Alison's using her contacts well. Seen Paul Hartley one last week. She's got contacts everywhere, so fair play to Ali.
Yeah, absolutely.
And congratulations to the teams for making their players available.
Yeah,
indeed.
Absolutely. Look at Ruffy folding his arms as if to say, I'm making a really serious point here. Brilliant, Ruffy.
You know how we need it, and the public need it, and the supporters need it, you know, and it's good that they're doing that.
Yeah, and listen, not just for us, for everybody. I mean, listen, it's great when you get the chance to scratch the surface of a player and not necessarily just about pre the game and post the game, you know, get a wee insight into what makes them tick, what are their ambitions, and Ali certainly did that, and it's well worthy of you casting your eye and your ear over it because it's out today. McConnell meets O'Hara, Mark O'Hara, talking about St Mirren, so well worthy of you having a wee look at that. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. There's lots more content on the way, and later on in the week it is indeed well worthy of you looking at the matchday experience. Kerry Pollock and Blair have been out there at Easter Road, giving us a real insight into behind the scenes. There's interviews with legends, current players, the manager, the PR guy. We even got the stadium announcer, Tam, all of the people that you no longer see because you're barred. So, well worth having a look at it. From Tam, from Ruffy, and from Alison McConnell and myself, we'll all be just heading out to enjoy the sunshine on this Monday. Tam is going into a darkened room to try and recover from 3 days in Derry. That should be a documentary as well, Ruffy, shouldn't it?
Well, if only if we get the photos.
Yeah, absolutely.
The video.
Absolutely. People would pay for it. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching.